Every year, Earth has to send 10 tributes to participate in the Intergalactic Battle Royale. Every time the tributes are massacred and solely entertainment for other races, except for this year. Enough was enough. Humanity always sent criminals, people on the death rows, volunteers to these events. They were, of course, quickly annihilated. No organization, no real power, no real advantage. It started when other aliens started the bullying. When in every intergalactic decision, humanity was left aside because they were too weak to even have a vote. When they made a poll to decide if humans should even be considered intelligent species. So this time, 10 tributes were sent, again, the lowest possible number, reserved for the losers of the previous sessions. But this time, they were 10 highly trained soldiers from multiple countries, the best of the best, even better than whatever could be deployed on Earth, considering that some of the countries were still not 100% at peace with each other. The aliens, again, laughed. They joked about, humanity is starting to become serious, I guess, looking at their underdeveloped weapons, on their fragile bodies that would break the moment a single Zarhan could hold them. But no Zarhan would hold a person this time. The timer was on, and immediately, the aliens went to the humans. The first ones were blinded by a stun grenade. Luckily for the Orans, they relied more on sound, so tunning their ears, they found nothing. That was weird, though, but then they recognized a sound, a scream, from one of their own. Where were the humans? Sure, it was an artificially made forest, but still it wasn't that big. How could they simply disappear? Another scream. The Galoops were falling one by one, a race that could camouflage against anything. Did the humans kill them? Zarhan was sobbing. He had lost 2 of their 5 arms, and he was in horrible pain. One of the Orans showed his trophy, a human arm, but the same human sliced one of his necks and pushed a bullet on his friend by his side. He was now losing a lot of his vital fluids, faster than his self-generate could handle, but still tried to put a fight. But the human was not there anymore. In his place was a grenade. 1 human died in the battle. It was a tactical error the other 9 would not repeat. 5 hours have passed. The Zarhan were no more. The huge, strong, and faster aliens that ever existed were destroyed, all 15 of them. The others were panicking. Some tried to flee and got caught into traps. Some were left in these traps for hours, crying in pain, for his friends were too scared to help. Others suffered such horrible torture for these cruel devices that skilled medics and soldiers tried to help them, only for them to be exterminated from gunshots that seemed to come from nowhere, and at the same time, everywhere. Did the humans evolved? No, that could not be. But they were sure there were only 9 humans, 1 without a full arm. How could the gunshots appear from such different places? Another 3 hours passed. The public was horrified. They could not stand a single minute more seeing that torturous warfare. And yet humanity pushed forward, slicing, gunning, exploding. The Rons were still close to intact, for their exoskeleton could handle the humans' bullets, but the whole thing was starting to take its toll on their mental state. Even knowing that the bullets would just scratch lightly their skin, every time they heard something they would flee, and their commander would scream for them to regroup, for they had lost 2 soldiers already, and were down to just 9. Eventually, only they and their war equipment remained. No food, no water, and the humans. For hours, the Rons tried to sleep to regain their forces, just to be woken up by some bomb, some shooting, some flame burning their camp. They tried to flee to an isolated place, quietly at first, to think about in strategy. But as soon as they started to discuss anything, gunshots, bombs, things would happen to disturb their peace and to make sure they would not rest a single bit. Multiple times they pinpointed where the bombs came, where the humans were hiding, to attack. But the only thing waiting for them were traps, grenades, smoke curtains, and gunshots. 2 more Rons died on 5 of these useless crusades, and after more than 40 hours, no sleep, no peace, close to no communication, for every time they tried to talk, stun grenades would drop closely, blinding and deafening everybody. They started to gesticulate, to run and scream. They tried every language they could, even some human ones, always with the same message. We surrender. Unfortunately, nobody saw or heard their pleas. The sounds of war were louder, the flames were brighter, and their hiding places were in flames, together with their clothes, their equipment. Still, they survived. Somehow they escaped, but any hint of organization between them was gone forever. Two ended up things by themselves. Their breathing was voluntary, so they simply stopped breathing. Their general was screaming orders, but nobody could understand him, for he was so out of himself that whatever words escaped his lips were just gibberish, and his movements were erratic. Until he was gone, fell into a concealed hole in the ground, ignited until all liquid in his body evaporated. Even more panic ensued, and the humans knew how to use it, and use it they did. Two fell into a river and were promptly tied and weighted, drowning on the unforgiving waters. Four eventually fell victim to the bullets, from snipers hitting their eyes when in panic they ran in open fields. One got his leg trapped, and so weak he was, could not free himself, and died from another bullet. Only one was left, and he had his back against a huge mountain. In front of him, 9 humans appeared. They had absolutely no hint of fatigue. Honestly, they didn't even appear tired. Like the whole event started 10 minutes ago and not more than 45 hours. Even their clothes, while completely dirty, appeared intact. A single soldier took a step, pointed her gun, and the Ron fell. He was gone. Her lips simply said bang. No bullet flew from her gun. No vital fluid escaped the enemy. His brain just turned off and his breathing stopped. But the true terror was still to come. Per rules of the event, winners had access to the best medics in the galaxy to treat their wounds. From the 9 remaining soldiers, 1 had a new organic arm made for him. 3 had multiple fractures on their ribs. 2 with punctures at their lungs. 5 had some kind of member fracture. 1 had to get a full new femur engineered for her. And finally, 2 had lost an eye. How did the humans were able to keep fighting in these conditions and still win? And finally, how could they still summon the strength to laugh and to sing after fighting for so many hours against the greatest warriors of all? Like the whole thing was a walk in the park? From that day forward, in every intergalactic reunion, in decision-making, humans would look at the aliens in the eye, no matter how smaller they were, how flimsy they looked, and the aliens would look away.